I'll be doing a lot of videos on the Arizona Trail and other videos, so if this is something that piques your interest, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if this video is something you like, please hit that like button. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a while since I posted a video on the Arizona Trail, but I thought it would be important to talk about mistakes that I made on trail on my first through hike of the Arizona Trail. And so that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to just kind of go over all the mistakes that I made on my first through hike of the Arizona Trail. Let's get into it. All right, so one of the first mistakes that I made on the Arizona Trail was carrying too much water. I carried I think 7 liters is what I carried to start out with. And it's crazy because water's heavy. It weighs 2.2 pounds per liter, so I definitely carried way more water than I needed to carry. Water can certainly hurt your body more than help it if you're carrying it on you versus in you, which leads me to my next mistake, and that was not drinking enough water when it was available to me. The term cameling up is a good term. So cameling up is basically drinking a lot of water when it's available to you at a water cache, in town, at a source. Carrying it in you versus on you is extremely helpful for the long end goal of not hurting your body and just being a better overall efficient hiker. I didn't drink enough water out of the tanks. What are tanks? So tanks are basically a man-made pond that is water storage for livestock, cows, horses, whatever the livestock may be. I was certainly scared of drinking that water, and because of it I carried a lot more water, which was hurtful to my body. So I definitely wish that I wouldn't have been such a wimp and would have drank more out of the tanks opposed to carrying absurd weights of water. The next mistake is I didn't really use enough electrolytes. I kind of glazed over that, and I think you shouldn't. Electrolytes are important, and it doesn't matter how much water you drink. What you're sweating out isn't just water, and you're not going to be able to replace that just with water. So drink water with electrolytes every day. That will be very helpful to you. Which leads me into my next mistake. I didn't really think about sun cream enough, and the desert sun is intense. I'm in the desert right now. It is, it's only 55 degrees out. You can see I'm wearing a hoodie, but I have sun cream on because there's no clouds, and sun will catch up to you. So I highly recommend wearing sun cream, and more sun cream than you think you need, just because it's lack of sun or cloudy overcast or even snow reflects. So wear sun cream. You're in the desert sun's intense. Staying on the health side of my mistakes is stretching. Man, I didn't stretch enough. I wish I would have stretched every night before bed, because the lack of water on this trail affects your muscles differently, and stretching out those muscles at the end of the day is certainly more helpful than stretching at the beginning of the day. That's my personal opinion, and some scientists may agree with that. So definitely stretch a lot more than you think you need to. Some of my biggest mistakes was listening to other people, and that's ironic since I'm doing a video for you to listen to. But mainly this is referring to people who are day hikers, or just people who live in Arizona who haven't hiked the Arizona Trail and don't really know what hiking the Arizona Trail in a through hike means. They certainly instilled a lot of fear, way too much fear, in me, and things that I didn't need to worry about, you know, like scorpions and bears. Not to say you're not going to see one, but it's not really something you need to be overly concerned about. So don't necessarily listen to everybody. Once again, ironic. I think one of my bigger mistakes was not utilizing the day to its fullest, meaning that I kind of got up later and I didn't hike in the most opportune temperature times to hike. You know, you really want to be hiking as much as possible during the early morning or dusk. You know, it will get hot, and that will be a good way to beat the heat. Another mistake that I made was I didn't really take enough side quests. You know, I'm very fortunate to reside in Arizona right now, and you probably don't. And this may be the first and last time that you go to Arizona. So take advantage of that and go see all the cool things that are near the trail. I mean, you have Grand Canyon National Park, Saguaro National Park. You have several national monuments, Mammoth Cave. I mean, sorry, not Mammoth Cave, Colossal Cave, and Tonto Natural Bridge. You could go to Sedona. There's lots of things in the Grand Canyon, you know, so don't just do just the Arizona Trail. I mean, you know, you have mountains, Lemon, Mika, Miller, Mount Humphreys, all summits that you can bag that are very close to the trail. You know, hike your own hike, but this may be the first and last time that you ever go to Arizona, so definitely take advantage of being here. Carrying unnecessary gear. You know, you really need to evaluate every item that you carry. Definitely do a shakedown hike. That will give you a good idea of what is useful and what isn't useful, but you really need to meticulously evaluate every item and see if it's worth itself in weight. For example, like I said, I was feared of snow, so and feared of a lot of things, animals included. So I carried micro spikes, and I carried an earth sack. I never even used them. I carried them all the way to Utah. And, you know, those things weigh north of 2 pounds. 2 pounds of unnecessary weight will add up and will take its toll on your body. So keep that in mind. And just look over your gear. I mean, do your research and look over your gear meticulously. Every item, every single one. I walk too much, which is ironic. I mean, what does that even mean? Isn't that our goal? Yes and no. You know, my first through hike was during the year of COVID, and things were different. And I walked into every single town for resupply. If I need a resupply, I walked in, I walked out. I walked everywhere. And you know, that was different. That was then, this is now. The trail wasn't really as well known back then, and COVID was in play as well. The trail is much more well known by people who live in Arizona, people who don't live in Arizona, day hikers, and just general people in town. So there's certainly a lot more people to help you out, and make sure you go to AZTA website and check out the Trail Angels list there. That will be very advantageous to you to see where they're located and what type of services they can provide for you, if any, at all. Animals and fear-mongering around animals. Man, it was strong, the fear-mongering with this one. And I was scared to go out in the desert by myself and sleep with, you know, snakes and scorpions, and I would tent sleep every night, and I would bring in my bag and my footwear to make sure I didn't have any extra animals joining me for the night. When in reality, you know, I didn't see any scorpions. I didn't see any rattlesnakes. I did see some tarantulas in the high desert, but It really wasn't that big of a deal, which kind of leads me into my next mistake, which was night hiking. You know, when I discovered night hiking, I thought, man, I found a way to beat this trail. I found a way to beat the heat. And that was to hike at night, right? Wrong. You know, why is it wrong? Well, you know, everything in the desert comes alive at night. And, you know, every animal has the same plan as you to beat the heat. And you will definitely encounter way more wildlife if you hike at night. If that's what you're looking for, great. But keep in mind that you're not necessarily going to see them all the time. You'll be able to hear it more than you will be able to see them. You're definitely going to go through more batteries or power if you're doing USB petzl charge for your headlamp. But keep that in mind. And another thing was with night hiking, you have no relation or idea of how fast or slow you're going, because you have nothing to relate passing you or anything like that. So if you're expecting to cover the amount of ground that you would day hiking, you won't. So I just found out, you know what, I need to get up earlier and hike a little bit later, you know, dawn to dusk type of thing. Expecting things, man. You know, I talked to a lot of other hikers and not necessarily Arizona trail hikers, but just through hikers in general. And, you know, I was expecting maybe trail magic or water caches or even things to be open. I mean, that was during the year of COVID. You know, when reality, you should just hike. You shouldn't really expect things like trail angels to help you out. You know, what they're doing is volunteering, you know, and if you're expecting someone to volunteer for you, you know, that's entitlement, which, you know, I was guilty of, and I think probably every hiker is. But, you know, you just shouldn't expect those things. Just hiking and have a good time. You shouldn't really worry about, you know, what's few days ahead of you. You should just worry about what's directly ahead of you that day or in relative to that day. Constantly thinking about how many miles I've walked or need to walk or think that I needed to walk. Yes, it is an 800-mile trail, and if you look at it like that, it's a lot to bite off in one go. So I don't. I choose to look at it now as, you know, day by day hikes. So it's like, you know, if it's going to take you 50 days to hike the trail, it's 50 small day hikes. That way it's a little bit more approachable for you. Fear of snow. Man, I thought about this white stuff a lot. Way too much, in fact. Yes, you will get either snowed on, sleeted on, hailed on. It doesn't matter when you start, which direction you're going. It will happen on this trail. It's a very diverse trail in that sense. But I imagined like post-holing. I imagined icy traverses, steep, slippery, icy traverses. But I was wrong. Now, every year is different, and you need to do your own research regarding the year that you're starting and when you plan on starting. But in my experience, yeah, I was fearing about it way too much. I mean, the desert sun, as you can tell right behind me, is pretty intense, and it will melt things really fast. So yeah, I think I thought about it a little bit too much on that. Comparing my journey to others. At the end of the day, it's great to hear from other AZT hikers, other thru hikers, and learn from their mistakes and their videos and figure out some things. But it will be you hiking out there at the end of the day, and not them. You won't have the same experience, weather, trail, or even people that you're going to meet. So it will be your own hike. And so with that being said, I think you need to hike your own hike and just have a good time. I mean, the Arizona Trail is fantastic. I love it. I've done it 4 times, thinking about doing it a 5th time. So Happy trails, guys. That's it. Those are all the mistakes that I made on my first through hike. And hopefully you don't make the same. So this is Cavs saying goodbye, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy trails, y'all.